Hi guys, welcome back. This is part 2. In part 1 we discussed the 5 steps of a surveillance operation, whether used by security professionals or criminals, and how they follow you and track you. In this episode I'm going to teach you how to disrupt their surveillance operation, overcome hostile surveillance, stop people from following you, break a tail, and ultimately keep yourself safe. So let's not dawdle and let's get right to it. Okay, so step 1 was how your enemies or opponents are researching you, and this is how to protect your online privacy, protect yourself online. So you need to commit to sharing less. I'm not a person who advocates no social media. You know, there are people out there who say I've got no social media, no one can find me. You know, I've got my YouTube channel, I've got Facebook, I've got Instagram. So I do understand that social media is a part of modern life, but there are safeguards on your social media sites about the privacy that you can share, which of your friends see what, and you need to really make sure that however much you're comfortable sharing, that the settings on those social media sites reflect that. So if you are a private person, then have the maximum settings. If you're trying to be a celebrity, obviously you'll have to have looser settings, but whatever kind of social media profile you're trying to build, have the settings match your personality and profile. And with regards to sharing less, you don't want to share where you live, your address, what car you're driving, or your license plate, a picture of your car with its registration. You don't want to share your daily habits, where you're going to be at a given time. You don't want to say I'm going to be at this coffee bar at this time every day, and you don't want to share things that people who have a hostile intent can pick up and use to follow you through the steps. This is only step 1, so if you have a habit of being at a specific place every day and you share that online, then it's going to be really easy for them to go to stage 3, pick you up at the static surveillance and follow you from there. So don't share that stuff online. And then when you browse online, you need to have a secure VPN. There are various VPN services online, but if you have a secure VPN, it stops third parties from intercepting your browsing patterns, habits, and finding out stuff about you through your VPN. If you are sending sensitive information like financial information, things that show how much money you have or how much money is in an account, you need to use an encrypted server or an encrypted messaging service for that, because once again those messages can be intercepted. Any message or any radio signal, anything that you send out or transmit can be intercepted, but if something is encrypted, then even if they intercept it, they still need to de-encrypt it before they can read it. So for your really sensitive communications, either don't do things online that leave a trace, or if you're using something online, use an encrypted service, especially with financial documents. You need to use strong passwords as well. You know, the normal thing of someone writing password or their date of birth, that kind of thing is a big no-no. The difficulty with this obviously is remembering these really random passwords, but I mean, you just write that down. It's a difference between people being able to find out your financial situation or possibly even steal money, so you need to use strong passwords. Now, with regards to protecting your financial privacy, one of the important things is to train your staff to recognize security threats. So there will be people who are phishing, people who are trying to find financial information out about you or your company, who's got what, and you need to train your staff to be alert to these threats, to be able to recognize them, and obviously also not to give away any sensitive information. One of the important ways that private investigators or anyone looking for information gets information is in your garbage. If you throw it out, you think that no one's going to go through your garbage, but you're wrong. Your documents, any financial documents, receipts, any sensitive information, even stuff what you're eating, your habits, maybe there's stuff that tells people where you're going to be on a certain day. That kind of stuff often gets thrown away without thinking, without being shredded, and it can be used to get the research necessary for criminals to pick you up, or to know that you're the person they're looking for, because they can see how much money you've got in your account and how you're going to likely pay a ransom if you're kidnapped or something like that. So garbage is something you really need to have a look at. Refuge, training your staff to recognize phishing threats or people trying to impersonate other people to come in and get information. These are the ways that they will research you before they attack you and before they follow you and take things further. So this is where you need to pay particular attention. Okay, so the next chapter. Please excuse the sunglasses. I'm not trying to be cool, but the sun is right in my eyes and I don't want to be squinting for this whole video. So you've protected yourself online, you've made yourself hard to follow remotely. Now it's time to learn some hardcore anti-surveillance drills to protect yourself in person from being followed. So one of the keys to stopping people from surveilling you is to not have a discernible pattern, is to break your habits. If every time you go to the ATM or every time you're depositing money, it's always first thing on a Wednesday morning, then someone in the bank may tip off robbers, and when you come first thing on a Wednesday morning with this big load of cash, they're waiting for you to take that cash away from you. Or if you always do your business late on a Friday afternoon, or if there's any pattern in how you do sensitive business, people will pick up on this and they may preempt you or predict where you're going to be based on your past behavior. So if you have sensitive business with money and that, deposit and do things in an unpredictable pattern, sometimes in the morning, sometimes in the afternoon, sometimes Mondays, sometimes Wednesdays. In this way, if you don't have a predictable pattern, it will be that much harder for a surveillance team to pick you up. Then the two main concepts with anti-surveillance are mirroring and multiple sightings. So what you're looking out for is a person or a group of people who are mirroring your behavior. So if you go in one direction, they go in that direction, and you're looking for multiple sightings. So if you see these people multiple times and they shouldn't, you know, they're not related to you, that you don't know why they're there, or if they are mirroring your behavior, then that's generally a sign that they are surveilling you, that they are following you. Secondly, a lot of the anti-surveillance drills I'm going to talk about are a lot more overt and aggressive than what we would generally use in the private investigating world. And the reason for this is because I'm trying to train you guys against kidnappers and violent criminals. So for instance, one of the best ways to lose a private investigator or someone, a professional who's tailing you, is to drive down a cul-de-sac. So they're forced to drive down the cul-de-sac as well, and then it's kind of like, well, why would they do that? So obviously they've blown their cover. But if they're kidnappers or armed robbers, then yes, they may have blown their cover, but you've just made it easy for them because now you are stuck in a deserted cul-de-sac with no way out, and they've basically just made it that much easier for them to kidnap you. The same thing with confronting people who are following you. In the PI world, they say, well, just go up to the person and say, why are you following me? I know your car. But then again, you know, if these guys are armed robbers, or it's like a van with a kidnapping and you go up to the van, then they're just going to pull you inside the van and you've made their job easy. So a lot of these drills will be quite aggressive. They may, if you suspect you're being followed, they may make you a bit of a nuisance in traffic, but it's better than the alternative. So let's just cover that firstly, and then let me go on to some of the drills and how you see whether or not you're being followed and what to do if you are being followed. So you're on foot, you can do your three sides of a square, looking to see if anyone is mirroring your behavior, if you see them multiple times. Another thing you can do, although this goes a little bit against what I said about not leaving your garbage, but if you have a fake receipt of some kind, you go to the ATM and you get a receipt from the ATM and you drop your fake receipt as if you're dropping your ATM receipt, and then you walk on a bit and you look behind you. If someone picks up that receipt, especially people who you suspect may be following you, because now they want to see how much money you've got in your, in your account because of the receipt, that's obviously a clue. These people are trying to find information out about me. That's a clear red flag. And then obviously you just need to look over your shoulder. You can do this covertly or overtly. You go into a shop. If people follow you into the shop, the same people in various shops, there's multiple sightings. So if you're in a clothing shop and you go to another shop and another shop and another shop before you go to the bank to withdraw your money, and you keep seeing the same people following you into the shop, or if you go to the bank, you withdraw your money and then you go to the shop and you keep going to different shops and the same people keep coming in the various shops and you keep looking behind you, that's a sign that you may be under surveillance. Another thing to do is to turn around, is to go around a corner in a shopping center or something and then just suddenly stop. If someone is following you and they turn that corner and they suddenly see you there, they will also either have to stop or keep going, but the reaction they have will be a clear sign of whether or not you're being surveilled. Okay, so you've conducted your business, you've been on foot, and now it's time to get into your vehicle. This is the time when you're most vulnerable. It's the time when you're most likely to be followed. It's also the time that's the easiest to spot and confirm whether or not you are being followed. So let me teach you some mobile anti-surveillance drills. Once again, I just want to emphasize that a lot of these are a lot more aggressive than is what traditionally taught in the private investigative world. And the reason for that is obviously that when a kidnapper or armed robber, when their cover is blown and they realize that you know that they are following you, they're not necessarily just going to retreat. They may then just throw caution to the wind and come out in the open and attack you and follow you. Even if you know they're following you, they just come after you fast, pull their guns out. It's much more aggressive than just confronting a private eye or just losing a tail, because once again, if you lose a tail and they know where you live, they're likely to be, if they lose you, they'll go to your gate and wait outside there. So you need to keep an eye open for these kinds of things and use these drills in a way that, if you suspect you're being followed, may make you a nuisance, but it may save your life. So once again, if you suspect you're being followed, but even if you don't, one of the best things to develop is a surveillance detection route that you do when you leave your house and when you're coming back. There's a specific route that you follow. I'm going to turn here and here and here. Maybe it's not the most traditional route or the most logical route, because you want to have people do the same route as you, and then you wonder why. Only I know where I'm going. Why is this guy driving the same route as me? So you're getting him to mirror and multiple sightings. I just want to emphasize that's what you're looking for. You're looking for people who mirror your behavior, and you're looking for multiple sightings. You see the same people over and over again in your rear view following you. They're always around. Then it's likely they're surveilling you. So if you do your surveillance detection route, it will obviously be the route you choose. You can do your 3 sides of a square. That's often very good. When you're driving out from your house, you drive in your original direction for a little bit, then you turn off. You make a note of who's pulled out when you pulled out, and you make a note of who followed you when you were turning. Then you turn the second time, you make a note of who followed you that time. Then you make the third turn. If someone has followed you 3 times and you make a note of each time, it's the same car, silver Corolla, when I pulled off. And then when I turned, there was a silver Corolla in my rear view. Then when I turned again, there was a same silver Corolla was there. And I turned again, and the same silver Corolla was still there. It's likely these people are following you. So as soon as you set off on your day, look around for people who may be triggers for the surveillance. They may be waiting outside your house, outside your complex. They may be in a car. Generally, if there's two men up in front in a car, that's a sign that they may be triggering you or watching you. And so you make a note as you leave what cars are pulling out behind you. You turn again, make another note, turn again, make another note, turn again, another note. So that's 3 times, basically 3 different changes you make. And if these people mirror your behavior, they are likely to be following you. It may be sophisticated, there may be multiple cars, but the more you look in your rear view, the more you make note of who's behind you, who's in this lane, and then changes lanes, the more you're going to be able to confirm whether or not you're being tailed. So, ways to break a tail and to confirm a tail is, for instance, you could be driving along and then just in the slipway, at the last moment you change lanes and you make a U-turn and you go in the other direction. People who are following you, it's going to be really suspicious if they also make a U-turn and follow you, but they may not be able to change lanes and they go past you, and then you're heading in the opposite direction. So if you change direction a number of times, you don't make it obvious where you're going. That's a key in generally confirming surveillance, and also just making it harder for people to follow you. Another trick is to drive a number of times around a traffic circle. This may make you look like an idiot, but anyone who's following you will either be forced to go on, or if they're following you around a traffic circle, that will clearly confirm your suspicions. And then things like changing lanes. You're driving along, you look like you're going straight, and suddenly you turn into the turning lane. Looks like you're going to turn, you make a note who's also changing into the turning lane. Then you change your mind just as the turning lane's about to go, you go straight again. If the other person does this as well, once again, like I say, you're looking for mirror behavior, you're looking for multiple sightings. If you stop suddenly on the side of the road, it is dangerous, obviously, if you're being followed, that kidnappers can just box you in. So you need to know where you're going to stop. But if you are able to stop somewhere where you can quickly get away, quickly do a U-turn, and you stop as if you maybe got a phone call, you put your hazards on, it makes it very difficult for people who are following you, unless they're going to commit to the attack right then and there. They're going to be forced to go past you or forced to stop somewhere later on, and you just make a note. The main thing is to make a note every time you look in your rear view, look who's around you, look who's next to you. If it's the same cars, and especially with these kidnappings and armed robberies, which I'm dealing with, if you look at all the videos, it's generally 4 or 5 males in a car. So 3 or 4, let's say 3 or 4 males in one car, maybe 2 males in another car. They're not necessarily of any demographic, but you can choose to look at that in whatever way you want. But if you see cars full of male men, well, who just generally look aggressive, and these are the guys you're constantly seeing, then you may be under surveillance. So change lanes a lot, stop unexpectedly, and basically the hardest thing for any PI or surveillance effort to follow is someone who's lost. So if you act like you're lost, you drive up one street, you're not sure, you drive up another street, and then maybe you follow a completely unpredictable pattern, that makes it very hard for people to follow you. But you need to be conscious of your safety. Like I say, having PIs follow you and having kidnappers follow you are 2 different things. You don't want to go down a deserted street. It may make it easy to confirm that you're being followed, but it may just also make it that much easier for them to kidnap you. And then finally, once you've done your surveillance detection route, you've changed lanes, you've watched your rear view mirror, you've looked for people mirroring your behavior, you've looked for multiple sightings, now you're heading home. You need to have another surveillance detection route on your way home, because the guys following you and doing the attack in your driveway is often the most common and the most vulnerable time, is right there in your driveway. So when you're coming home, be really sure, be really certain who's behind you, what cars have been following you, have you seen that car a lot, why is this car behind. Even if you haven't seen them, even if you've forgotten to do surveillance, this is the time you need to watch your rearview mirrors, is as you're driving towards your driveway, towards your gate, because that's when they're going to box you in, that's when they're going to commit their robberies very often. But they may not only follow you, they may be waiting for you at your gate. So you need to, when you're pulling in, take note of any suspicious vehicles, any stationary vehicles parked by your gate that can suddenly just box you in, because that's the main strategy, is as you pull into your driveway, into your gate, the attackers come and they box you in for a hijacking or a kidnapping. So the final phase of watching your tail, looking for the mirror behavior, looking for the multiple sightings, is most important as you're coming home.